Thanks for tuning in to another show in the Next Reel family of film podcasts.
Want to skip those ads and get early access?
Become a member at truestory.fm/join and discover all the other great perks that come with it. Welcome to Movies We Like, part of the Next Reel family of shows on True Story FM. I'm Andy Nelson, and that over there is Pete Wright.
It is confirmed, Pete Wright.
On today's show, we have invited production designer Roger Fires to talk about The Exorcist, a movie he likes. Roger is a production designer whose credits span Nobody, Violent Night, and the Scrubs reboot, and his latest film, Psycho Killer, just hit digital. Roger, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you so much, Andy, Pete. It's so exciting to be here. I'm really happy. I think this is one of the ones that I'm really looking forward to.
Oh, that's really nice to hear, man. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're grateful for your time. For sure.
Yeah, we're thrilled. We're definitely going to be talking about The Exorcist and your projects, but let's start with you and talk about how you got into production design, and especially knowing that you kind of had a longer path from interior design, graphic design that kind of led you to production design.
I'm originally from Brazil, so I moved to Vancouver 13, almost 14 years ago. In Brazil, I did a lot of artists, musical artists, all the branding and everything else, Rock in Rio, restaurants. It felt like I was compiling everything to become a production designer. And hitting even fashion, I dabbed into. So going into all those elements. So when I reached, I believed my professional roof in Brazil was I need to expand this and do what I wanted to do, which was being a production designer. So me and my ex-girlfriend, we decided to leave Brazil and then come to here. And then because she still is actually in a medical field, we decided what would be the best path. Is either New York, LA, or Vancouver. And I came here in 2009. And then we saw everything. And then her dad said, hey, this is a place to be, they needing people in your age, talent, and everything else. So I had a friend that had applied, and then I talked to her, and we applied. 6 months later, we got the PR, and we moved, and I kind of started my journey here. So I didn't want to be that guy that it does the whole stigma of stealing locals' jobs or whatever. So I went to a school to learn, pay the taxes, pay the school and everything else to be I'm that guy. But I don't take a no for answer. But not saying I know no is no, especially now with this whole thing that is coming out. But it's kind of we had this guest speaker that it was a graphic designer that back in the day, he said, I'm saying more yes than no's. I mean, I'm saying more no's than yeses because there's a lot of people looking for me, and then it's I'm on this job. And when the lecture was over, I went after him. I was like, hey, how can you say no, but yes, I know this guy here? What is the process in the industry? So he taught me about the unions, IATSE, and everything else that I didn't know about it. It's different in Brazil. And he invited me to go to Once Upon a Time, walk through the stage and everything else, the series.
Yeah.
And then after, you're ready, I saw your portfolio. I had two ways of going. It's either set designer or graphic designer. But I always had more fun doing graphic designer, the Easter eggs, all the fun things that I could do.
Interesting.
So I went there after this whole chat. I talked to him and said, hey, let me buy you lunch. That's the least I can do for all this walkthrough and this guidance. And he goes just give me a job in the future. And I was like, what do you mean? And then he goes you're going to be our production designer way before you think.
Wow.
And I was like, that's great. On this whole process, one of the reasons I came here, I was asked who do you see yourself being? Who's your benchmark? And I said David Wasco, which is Pulp Fiction, Reservoir Dogs, and Wes Anderson's. And then when I was being a graphic designer already in the industry, I got a email spam, like the one of those blast emails. David Wask is in town shooting an adventure of Max and Banks. And I was like, what is that? And and then I talked to my production designer and was like, I need to go there and talk to this guy. He's like the reason why I do this. So like I put my resume, my portfolio, I got called, I went there. He had my resume with post-its and I love this. I want you. And then he ended up hiring me to do Adventure of Max and Banks that it was 50 Shades of Grey. And then from that point on, like David was now became only like a mentor, like a personal friend. And he was another person that had saw me as like, you're going to be a production designer really soon.
Wow.
There's the two like full circles is 50 Shades of Grey. The reason I'm telling those stories are like 50 Shades of Grey was where I met David, where I kind of saw myself learning so much from him and seeing how my path would go. But I always met my wife for the movie. And
Okay.
That's an awesome movie to have met your wife.
I know. And then after I started like progressing my career, directing, supervisor, director, and everything, I was doing a project called Lost in Space, season 2,
Okay, yeah.
as a supervisor or director. And I hired Neil Westlake, the guy who gave me the walkthrough on Once Upon a Time, as my graphic designer on the show.
So you went full circle and you did hire him back.
I did hire him back. I paid, and then I told him, I was like, hey, that's that lunch.
Yeah, right.
God, and what great looking properties too. Lost in Space was transcendent, man. Just what a good looking.
And it was crazy. Every episode was like a beast. There was no small gag.
There was a lot going on that show for sure.
And a lot practical too. So
yeah,
wow, that's great. Yeah.
There was a lot of practical locations, practical gags. Like the back of the Jupiter, there's like an accident. That's how it starts season 1. We literally built the whole full scale back of the Jupiter and put on a tank with gags, and it was like crazy. It was a really good and not so good experience, and that's one of the things that I might have asked you to cut. But there was a lot of things that happened there that I got to a point. It was like, you know what? Thank you for your time.
Yeah, right.
Okay, fair enough.
My gosh.
But that gets you into some really incredible projects as production designer, right? I mean, I am personally deeply interested in Scrubs. Just because, first of all, it gets you in the Bill Lawrence camp, which can't be a bad place to be working, right? That's not a bad place. But it also puts you in a position of doing something that I think is pretty dramatically unique in these properties right now, which is to take something that was beloved and rebuild it to make it beloved again, but also the same, but still be able to do more with it. And I just would love to hear your thinking about how you go about recreating Sacred Heart and the design and leveraging everything that was this incredible show and make it something that appeals to old fans and new.
I would be lying if I said that it was not the biggest challenge that I had. And it got to a point that you go to the stage and then you see just the marks on the floor with the walls about to being up. And then I'm standing on this 18,000 square feet warehouse with open door leading to another warehouse. And then you think, did I buy too much? So like, I think there's two, but one of the biggest challenges was, we talk about a show that aired 25 years ago, the first episode. 25 years ago, all the communication, not only between patients and doctors and staff, was way different than also our communication with the world right now. So you have a headache, you can throw in the AI, what should I do? That information didn't exist back then. So the hospital, when they went to, it was almost like a spaceship, let's call it, because if we didn't have the information of how the hospitals were the same, how each hospital, you could Google like how this hospital look like, how this hospital look like. You have the reference of your local hospital or the hospitals that you've been. Is the spaceship reference? It's like, I don't know how a spaceship looks like. I know how they portray spaceships in movies. So you have this freedom. Today, everything is so documented that you have to not only be accurate with the emotion and the feeling that those people had living on that space, not only the fans, but also the crew. But you have to bring that to our like modern day. How we're gonna interpret, we're gonna have that transition on like an old hospital that we didn't have a pandemic, and then now you had that affect the whole world. How are you gonna? We didn't want to celebrate that, but how are we gonna show that? Yes, we are aware that happened. We are aware that the relationship. Now you have to wash your hands, cover your face, don't come to the hospital. Those kind of things that information didn't exist 25 years ago. So we started with that. Was one of the first things. As when I do a movie with like action, my first question is like, especially now, is are we doing blanks or are we doing real guns? I mean, visual effects, because that it's a difference.
Because we don't use real guns.
With the real guns.
For the record.
It's another thing that I don't want to get into the whole world, but like it's a blanks of visual effects.
Yeah.
With Scrubs was the same thing. The first question was like, what are we doing with COVID?
Yeah.
Because we had the shoots, we had the masks, we have like a lot of things that not necessarily it's not like a memory that people wanted to have.
Yeah. And yet still, what changes the infrastructure of Sacred Heart? Like there would be a legacy of that to change the hospital.
Yeah, like the marks on the floor, the 6 feet, those things. It's like, how are we going to perceive that?
Totally.
And the other thing was, literally, I went down to try to study how the evolution of the hospitals happened within the spans, like 1 to 3 years, 3 years to 6 years. What did it change? The approach, the technology. When do you start making renovations? When do you start to like changing ceiling tiles? When do you start like painting walls or changing the lead to real paint? How that evolution happens, so we can start like playing with how we're gonna adapt the old hospital without changing the characteristic and the DNA that the whole hospital had to something that is going to be shot now in 8K.
Yeah.
9K, and it's going to be shown on a totally different TV that you had in 25 years ago, that you can see way more, and how
every detail
that those details going to apply. So when that happened, we started like bringing what was the problems that you guys had in the real hospital shooting. It's the dolly at the admissions with the terracotta tile that they all bumping, is the elevator coming out with the strips of the elevator, is the doors, like all this, the flower shop that was too small, so we couldn't, like they couldn't shoot the flower shop. So how are we going to solve those problems of getting this set really open to all the possibilities, so we can literally use every single corner of the set and have the coverage that we needed for that pace? That we moved into, we have 3 stories of the hospital. We have the main floor, we have the second floor, we have the third floor in the regional hospital was production, the offices and everything. And we have the 4th floor. How are we going to transform those ones into a flat space? Because
you don't have the same building anymore. It's gone.
I don't have this, and then I cannot build a building.
Yeah.
And then I need to keep the hospital, and especially Scrubs, the walk and talk dynamic as it was before. There has a lot of walk and talk. There's a lot of ins and outs. There's a lot of different places in the hospital that they used, that we need to bring that to like a single flat 30,000 square feet space. So I came up with the idea that the set tech at first kind of Lizzie Peterson, which is like my partner in art. She's like a brilliant woman. She kind of like, for real, can we use the old school, which is the signage with Velcro?
Oh, okay. Just put it up, yeah.
The idea was get all the signage with Velcro and, first floor, we map it out. First floor, animations, cafeteria, this OR, because it was something that in the research said, cool, OR has to be in the first or second floor because we don't know what they have. So we can go in the elevator or stuck in the elevator or whatever. So it has to be there. So the OR, and then the second floor, there's a specific nurse station. The fourth floor has another specific nurse station. So I had to come up with those elements. So what I did was, let's do magnets because everything is magnet. So we go there, you can literally go into the elevator, press the button, special effects plays with the floor, and then the set deck team can go there and you just pop the sign and then you go in and then you have another floor.
Awesome.
That's such a crazy trick, especially because I feel like as a victim of that trick, like I'm trying to peel apart the Sacred Heart because I was a huge fan of the original show and I felt like I know that hospital. And what is so beautiful about the way the set works is that I feel like you're just giving me exactly the same thing that I knew as a fan, but more of it. I get more of the gift shop, flower shop. I get different angles but it still feels bespoke to the original show. And now you're telling me it's all magnets and my entire world is shook.
Yeah, like I did a walls up. I was like, I have to time how long this goes. We're going to go into the entrance. The entrance is another ballpark. But
yeah.
I went to from the beginning of the stage 3 that we call, and then we go around every single hallway on a fast pace and just going and timing myself. So this is the Chiefs, this is this, that whatever. And it was a close to 5 minutes walk with me running. So there was like a funny thing too. It's like another thing for the Sacred Heart was branding. Right, the hospitals, they change brand, they change communication, the wayfinder, like everything that you have in a hospital. So it was one of the things that I felt that's when I got Zach like really full, 110%. It's like, okay, we have to make some changes because he was really adamant. So like, I don't know if we have changed this here or changed that. And then I did, because of my background as an art director in an advertisement agencies, I asked my graphic designer to do a whole branding package
for the Sacred Heart.
For the Sacred Heart, the evolution, the uniform,
the evolution too. Wow,
of the brand,
like 25 years of branding
of the brand. So it was a manual. I have fantastic. A manual of application of the Sacred Heart as if it was a real company. So I said to Zach, I was like, this is like a metaphor. So like, this is the branding, but this is what I want to do with the hospital. And then I had like a little mock-ups and concepts and everything else, like how the signage go. And then his answer was like, this is amazing. Let's go. And that's when it's like, okay,
sure.
Let's go.
Also, we should start a real hospital.
I know.
It's so good. I want to just a quick say, Andy, I know you don't, Roger, you just got to know, Andy famously doesn't watch television because he only watches movies. That's his love language. But Andy, I assume you haven't watched Scrubs yet.
I've never seen an episode. I've never seen an episode of Scrubs.
It's okay.
All right. So. I just want...
My wife hasn't.
So, okay. So, Roger, this is the thing that I love so much. Talk about like neat little twists. The thing that you don't have, because you don't have the original 25-year-old to go building, it's gone. You had to really work on the eye line for the entrance to the hospital off that emergency door. Would you explain the amazing paint work that you did to trick the camera and me into believing that entrance to Andy?
What happened was when we signed that warehouse, that stage, the stage allowed us to cut a hole on one of the walls to connect the exterior with the set inside the soundstage. But the problem was we had to build this entrance in a loading bay.
Okay.
And the loading bay that they allow us to do was too far right at the end of the building. So one of the signatures of Scrubs too is when you walk in, you split and you can go either way. There's a lot of transitions like, oh, you go here, you go there. And then I didn't want to lose that. So I said, we cannot do here. Let's split. Let's put the entrance in the middle and whatever. And I think 10 years ago, I went to scout this house and I saw a painting by this artist called Patrick Hughes that he calls a reverse perspective. So it kind of has the same principle as, I don't know if you guys watch Behind the Attraction on Disney Plus when it talks about all the Disney attractions.
Yeah.
And then it has the busts on at the Haunted Mansion that you have the impression that they are
watching you
convex, but it's a concave. So it kind of moves. So it's the same principle, but what he does is the geometry, but it's proud. So when you walk, you have the parallax that the hallway is following you. It's pretty much like this here, right? So I pitched that to Zach and Randall and everyone. It's like I showed them the photos. Like, what about if I built this full scale? So I still build where they want me to build the facade outside, but through the hallway, we can see this. So when you have the actors and talking in front of it, we still see the parallax and we don't see a full, just like a painting, just an image. We see that it has a life.
It's stinking flawless. It is flawless.
That's amazing. Yeah. It's like one of the things you'd see going into like an optical illusion museum or something. Yes.
That's exactly what it is. Yes.
That's fantastic.
So I went there and everyone's like, oh, it's a copyright. I was like, oh, is it? So everyone's like, oh, we're not going to master. Let's put like a 2D image and don't message him and whatever. I was like, sure. Email him. Patrick, I'm a production designer on Scrubs. I want to do this. And then he mailed me back saying, come to the studio in UK. I was like, I don't think I can make it tomorrow because I'm in Vancouver.
Yeah, I'm not quite close enough.
But he said, I'll call you. He called me, and then he was the sweetest man on earth. He said, like, so many people steal my idea. But because you were so respectful of actually approaching to see if you could use it and to see how we can use it, you can do whatever you want. And I'll help you to do it. I was like, I think we're going to have our art department try it out. And then if I have a problem, I'll call you back. And we built this model with angles of how that perspective would have to work, because what Patrick told me is all his paintings are standalone.
Mm-hmm.
It's just an image. Ours had to work within the building in a proper vantage point in every single angle that the camera is.
Yeah.
So it was not like, hey, we have to put the camera at this angle to work. No, it has to work in every single angle, and it has to follow a vantage point from the hallway. So we fine-tuned, we picked the angle and everything else. We created like a different element because his comes forward and it has the angle walls, but where the hallway leading to inside, we push back a bit, so it's like it has like a different dimension that he has. And I think we found out that gag worked when my construction coordinator dog was walking into the hallway, and then he stopped in front of that image, and then you could see him. And then when the dog had the reaction and look at them, it's like, I think we did it.
Wow.
Because it really is incredible, because once you know it and you're watching any of these entrance sequences, right, where the young doctors are out there and Zach is out there and they're doing their bits, the camera comes at it from sometimes really interesting straight on angles, sometimes from very hard angles. And I'm never once thrown from the illusion. I'm never once thrown.
Cool.
It's like
Thank you so
old
much.
school. It seems like such like dynamically old school filmmaking. It's just a really cool evolution of a matte, and it just works perfectly.
Oh, thank you. I think like one thing that I love doing is like I love about my job so much, and I think that's why I appreciate the AI and the evolution that like we're going ahead into. But like I think AI as Photoshop was from, or the AutoCAD to the hand drawing, it has to be a tool. It cannot be a process of.
Yeah, it's a wrench.
It's a wrench. It's like you cannot use that as like your guidance to, hey, give me a set like this. I say, hey, I love that version. Throw it to the director. I think it's a tool, but I love what I call to my department is the Broadway. How can we make the Broadway thing? So I like the Violent Night that I had the same problem when I had to build one floor of the house, and then I flipped panels to be the second floor. So I had just a panel that
Nice.
I did a test first if I could spin the panel. So we do it like this, and then the top spin, it has a different wallpaper. But because we have to make walls back to back, we couldn't, double-sided walls, we couldn't spin effectively. So I was like, how can we make like something that is like quick and easy, especially in TV? TV, like we had 5 days to shoot an episode.
Oy, jeez.
So we have to go so fast. It's like, how can I make like the magnets and those elements? Another really fun thing that I really want to do, like in one of my projects that I managed to do on Scrubs twice, was the old color coded from the old sitcoms, like Monsters, that when you see the black and white set, you see how the set looks on camera. But when you go see how the color set was, all the set was colored by luminescence. So it's how the color works in black and white, not necessarily the real color.
Yeah.
So I did that twice on Scrubs with the noir, and with now the last episode with the old porn with the piano.
So good. So
That-
good.
That the whole set, when you see the color of the set, especially the porn, it's like orange walls and red curtains, and like it looks like a really weird choice. Right. But when you photograph how perfect the tones goes in black white, and that's like an old trick from like the 40s and 30s, that I was like, I would love to use that. And then when they said we're gonna do a black and white noir, I was like, hell yeah. That's what
Let's play.
And then I did this whole corner. I literally did a corner with the whole crazy colors, printed the whole scheme, and then showed to the DP, and he was like, oh. So he did a test. I was like, oh my God, this is so cool. And then it worked so well. It's so fun.
That's awesome. Well, I mean, it's nice being able to hear that you get to actually have those moments where you get to explore and play and try these sorts of things. I'm curious because you've worked with a variety of people who have been around for a while, James Gray to the people behind like Nobody with all the fantastic stunt understandings that they are bringing to the table. Violent Night, obviously kind of a very similar sort of thing. How does that all shift for you when you go and work with a first-time director like Gavin Polone on Psycho Killer? Do you find there's a little more of a dance as far as how you approach things because first time out there doing something like this? What changes for you in a situation like that?
Like I've been to like the first time position. I just did a project with Jay Hernandez that is coming out soon. His first time directing a horror movie. But in the case of Jay and Gavin, they are first time directors, but they are old timer in the industry.
Sure. Yeah.
So they have like a really intense knowledge, not only on what it takes, what it goes on the camera, but also of the hierarchy and the appreciation of your position too. So with Gavin specifically, like both of them, but with Gavin, with that moment, I like Steer of Echoes is one of the best horror movies. Like that movie is fantastic. And I keep watching, it keeps surprising me Like you always get goosebumps. And then the Gilmore Girls and Zombieland and all the things I've done. When he stepped into the directing position, when we talked about what we want to do with this whole project, he, especially when he started coming from working with 87 North, he came to me and was like, you tell me how we want to design this, how the houses, the place, how the gag would work better, and then I'll follow your lead. So I didn't step into. I'm quite nosy when it comes to especially feature film. It's like, what about this story here? Like this, nobody had changed the ending. It was a totally different ending. And I pitch Ilya. It's like, what about? And then this house has a basement type of situation. I'm really nosy in that way, but with Gavin, it was like such an intense and fun collaboration that Gavin, he's known from being that difficult producer. And then I see him producing while I was shooting Nobody. I mean, Psycho Killer, he was producing the other movie with Georgina. And then I could see him talking as a producer and then how LA producer he is. And then he hung up the phone and it becomes a Gavin director. And everyone's like, oh my God, it's a totally different person.
Wow. Okay.
But it's so funny. But like, it's the sweetest man. And he became such a fun friend. Like I just did a movie with John Turteltaub and Joe's like, oh my God, friends with Gavin. I was like, oh no. So I took a photo and sent to Gavin and Gavin's like, oh my God, John. So Gavin, he really trusts the process. He really trusts your position. He really understands what everyone brings to the table. Not only me, but Magnus and the DP. We all had a really good time. So it's really hard. I had experience when I worked with the first-time director that I had never stepped on a set before. Those are the times that are like, it made me wanted to quit the industry. But when you work with someone that it has this knowledge prior and understands how the wheel works, I think those are like, I don't consider them first-time directors. It's always going to be a filmmaker.
Well, it's great to know that he's somebody who like understood the process and everything. Because I mean, as a producer had been around, but it's also nice to hear how he had learned how to switch hats internally so that he came across as a director, as you said. Like that's actually pretty interesting.
And how appreciative he was, like I said, like, oh my God, it looks great. Or like Roger was the MVP, that kind of stuff. And then producers like Kat, the line producer, came to me and said, like, Gavin does not drop that if he doesn't believe. So I'd rather work with someone that is honest and transparent and say like, hey, what do you think about this? And then doesn't go around circles to say he doesn't like it. They say like, no, doesn't work. It's like, great, let's do something else. It doesn't waste my... And Gavin is like that direct. If he likes, he likes. If he doesn't, it's like, I don't think it's going to work. Okay, let's move on. So he's the MVP. He's like, I learned so much from him. He's a beast.
The interesting thing to me about Psycho Killer, especially as we pivot from talking about Scrubs, is that I think they came out like 6 days apart from each other.
I was in LA for like a week. I had 2 premieres.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. That is a very, I mean, stuff comes out all the time. But for you, these 2 projects could not be more different from one another.
No.
Right. So I imagine, I don't want to put words in your mouth, I imagine you did not do a rebranding guide for the Psycho Killer. What goes into you taking on projects like these sort of harder edged horror projects? How do you approach these from that perspective, especially when you're coming back and forth off of something like Scrubs?
I think like one of the fun things about Psycho Killer was one of the things that I talked to Gavin was I didn't want to fall into the cartoonish version of the satanic. We had Pennington, which is Malcolm McDowell character, that he's that character. He's the cartoon.
So fun to watch, yeah.
Buffoon, satanic guy. And when I talked to Gavin, so like I want the things to be more the uncanny vibe. So like how you see the satanic, icons and elements, and how you know that that doesn't belong to sacred. So when we went to like the masks, all the inscriptions that it has in a mask, and the approach, like one of the things is this here, I have the tattoo,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, right.
which is
Yeah,
this,
there it is.
the 666. There was something that we talk about how she gonna clue, how Jane is gonna clue that psycho killer is the guy behind this. And then we were having lunch, and then I did the 666 on the wall, and how he would move and becomes become his mask. And then Gavin was like, "Oh my god!" And then sent to the studio. This is going to be in the logo and everything else. And then it was something that he said to me, like in private, that I was like, you know what, I'm going to tattoo this. It's going to be when I have that imposter syndrome moment. I'll look at that and remember what he said. Was like, yes. So that's why I have the tattoo. But the whole idea of how this element's going to combine and not become something pastiche of like the whole satanic. So when it came to Pendleton Mansion, we had this backstory that he was this really wealthy person, then start slowing and then downsizing the houses, but he's still hoarding and then like the books and everything else. And then he had this kind of like a gray hall of satanic orgies. We did when we went to the dining room, which is the first time that you see the devil confronting the buffoon, which is the satanic buffoon. Everything around had that the iconography of what you think the devil is. So you have the goat on the wall, but the goat on the wall doesn't have 2 eyes; it had 6 eyes. So it has like this uncanny valley thing. So like the snake wallpaper, which is the first time that you see the devil in the Bible is like through a snake form. So it has like the snakes. So there's this whole idea how we see for the first time the devil. And then the other elements that it goes. When it goes to the Gray Hall, Andrew wrote that he had this photo of Lucifer on the Gray Hall. And then I told them, it's like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do Baphomet. I don't want to do anything that is kind of like cartoonish. And then I showed them the representation. What is an angel described in the Bible, which is that classic photo with the dove wings and the eyes. And so it's this weird, and it was, what about we do a version of this, but the devil? So instead of like the eyes, we do snake eyes, we do bat wings, we do like something that is the reverse of this, but it's not in your face. So from that, we start replicating and bringing death into the room. The chair that he dies with the antlers. I went to a church, and there was like this abandoned church that they want to sell everything that it was in the basement. And then I bought all the pews and elements and start like making my own furniture. So like the candle holders, they are pews that I drew it. So like, what about we cut the edges, we put it forward, and we put layers, and we put all the candles. And then the gong was like a bad frame that like this classic bread frame that was like, oh, let's build the gong out of this.
Yeah.
And one of the fun things was it's like the entrance was great, like lamps that we start doing. So there's a lot of elements that we start changing. But I had an idea for Carlo Pallet, and then they cast Malcolm. And then one of the memories that I have is watching Caligula.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
In the
Boy, those
beginning.
were the days.
Yep.
Am I right?
Those were the days. Staying late, play at 2 a.m.
Yeah.
And then I was like, what about if I bring a little bit of a Caligula into this?
Yeah.
So I put the black marble, the curtains, like everything's like all the fabric. I didn't use a single wallpaper in that whole house. Everything was fabric on the wall. And then I had this beautiful chandeliers of the church that I bought to, that they were made to be like this, right? picked from the ceiling. And so they're not going to work for us. I said, they will if we flip upside down. So instead of like this, we did like spikes coming down. So you have those two. So when the Malcolm came, he walked on the set and I saw him talking with the film commissioner. And then I went there to introduce myself. And then he looked at me, he's like, your work reminds me a lot of Danilo Donati, which he was back the art director on Caligula. It was like, you have no idea how
That's so
that
funny.
means to
How
me.
cool that is. Did you get that tattooed like Malcolm
Yeah, right.
McDowell?
No, it's like I next time I was like, can you?
I have no more room, man.
That's right. That's right.
Well, it's really fascinating too when you look at just how how Gavin uses some of those images. Like you look at that image of the angel devil you're talking about, and then we get that sort of hero moment at the end where he's in red in 3 Mile Island and he's got his arms outstretched, and all of these sort of patterns of images keep being used throughout the film. I think pretty effectively. It's good looking.
But as you said, it's like the real world devil as opposed to the version that Malcolm McDowell's character had kind of like created in his space. Right?
Yeah, and then just like Malcolm is like, what a pleasure to see him work.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah,
it's like there's in the movie you see a little bit of the speech that he gives. But that speech is huge.
Much longer.
Way longer. And we were like, whoa.
How do we touch that? Yeah.
Right.
Can I just ask a practical question? What is the derivation of the mask? Is that source mask? I mean, from a character perspective, did he build that himself, or does that come off of some piece of equipment somewhere that I'm not familiar with? It's got like electrodes all over it. Like, what's going on there?
So what happened was there was a backstory for the mask that it kind of explained in the movie that we shot, but like the movie got rearranged a little bit and that piece got left out. What happens is it's a mask of deprivation. So when he goes to that place that he escaped, it's like he has a feeding mouth, but it's kind of like to deprive him from the sensors. So he's so used to that mask now. Like it's part of his life that so you see him, he cannot sleep in a bed anymore. He has to sleep in a closet and he has to cut all the all the sensors he has. So that's what the mask comes from. So he grabs the mask, he takes the mask over, and then he makes his war paint, and that's where it's from.
Interesting.
It's a little bit of a bummer that got left out. I think that's that's an important point to me, because I think, from an iconic perspective, and I watch these movies and watch these horror movies, and I think, okay, what is it about this movie that would allow us to transcend a single entry and create a franchise out of this guy? And that's the part I'm sort of most interested in. Is there ever a chance that this guy, this devil, could come back and give us more story? That's horror franchise engine. Yeah, not dead.
Yeah.
So, and I think he has a look that could do that.
It's
absolutely. And then it was something that we talked since the beginning. It's like at the end of the movie when he gets back, because one of the things that it talks in the movie, and you see in the radio, it's like, the government has this institution that they put all the serial killers there to study and whatever. It's kind of like it's totally just foreshadowing what's going to happen. And it's like he escaped. He is Richard. And then he gets bring back, but it's hard to say, don't quote me or anything because we're talking live, but the movie that we shot was a little bit different than the movie that came out.
Yeah. Got it.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah. There's a lot that it could be more explored.
Yeah, right. Well, let's shift gears. Speaking of talking about satanic imagery, let's jump over to The Exorcist. Watching these back to back, the first thing that I was like, I hit the point in the church where the statue has been desecrated, and it just immediately put me into the psycho killer headspace because looking at just like interesting desecration of imagery and everything.
Yeah.
I mean, it's such a great film. It's obviously it's stood the test of time. But let's start talking about. You mentioned before we started recording that you had a story about this, and I'm very curious.
I do. Yeah.
about your story with The Exorcist. So yeah, jump in.
I grew up in Brazil. Until I was 27, I would say years old, my dad was a janitor. My mom was a maid. And then in Brazil, a janitor, they have a room in the building that they live. They had a house, a kitchen, a bathroom. And that's how I grew up. I grew up, was like a place like 10 by 10 feet, me and my mom and my dad. And I didn't have a bedroom until I kind of like move out. So like I never had like I would love to have like a man cave. There was a lot of things. So like my parents used to sleep here, and I used to sleep on this bed here. So there's a lot of films. Of course, it's inappropriate for kids. And then my dad's, they would love to watch horror movies. And then there's two movies that they loved. One of them was The Fearless Vampire Killer,
Okay.
which is one of my favorite Polanskis,
Okay.
So, yeah.
and Exorcist. And Exorcist is known for, like Brazil is known for the great voice dubs they do. So the movies are really good there. And then when they dubbed really well. We have fantastic
Great.
artists.
Nice to
So
hear.
it's not like sometimes
The really cheesy ones where
they do
nothing
it's
synced. Right. Yeah. These are good
it's
ones.
crazy how good they are. To the point that some movies now I prefer the Brazilian version. But my parents said, like, are we going to watch this movie? I don't want you to watch. And then I saw the preview the whole day. The anticipation with seeing the preview was like terrified. And I was like 10, 11.
Yeah.
My parents said, look at the wall.
Wow. Okay.
When you lie down, don't lie down looking this way. If you wake
Yeah.
up, I don't want you to see anything. So look at the wall. So I look at the wall, but I couldn't sleep. So I heard the whole Exorcist
Wow.
Oh my God.
as if it was like a radio
Yeah.
soap
Yeah.
opera.
That's terrifying, man. Seriously.
It's
That's straight up trauma.
way more terrifying.
Yeah, I was going to say that's
I'm
really
telling
creepy.
you, it's
Yeah.
it's trauma. I used to like you name it. By 16, I had watched every single horror movie. Like everyone that has collecting cards, like here in North America, they have like football cards or hockey or baseball or whatever. In Brazil, I had the soccer and I had horror. Like my whole thing was just like Freddy, love it, costume, like everything was just about horror. I never touched The Exorcist. Never watch
Wow.
it. Didn't want to hear about it.
That was your movie. Okay.
You'd heard it and it was too much.
And that was too much. Terrified. When I was 30 years old, I said, you know what? It's time to break this curse.
Yeah.
I have to watch
I'm
The
a
Exorcist.
grown damn man. I can do this.
I can do it, but let's not push too far. I'm not watching at night.
Okay. All right. Limits.
So like summer, 4 p.m. I was like, okay, with my girlfriend back in the day, I was like, let's watch this. And I could not be happier that I watched and how much I fell in love with that movie and how that movie kind of followed me is like for different reasons, for like the story, like of course the trauma, like the coming up of like, hey, I can face my fears and put myself out there. And it's like, oh, let's watch this. But also when I became a filmmaker, how that movie is so well done in every single aspect of filmmaking.
Yeah.
But David Wasco, when he watched Nobody, I asked him, how was I? So like, did you like it? And then he said to me, you were unnoticeably good.
Mm.
And that was one of the biggest compliments I have. And this is The Exorcist. That it's unnoticeably good in every single aspect. Every single piece of the filmmaking comes together to tell you that story and you don't get distracted by anything. The way that the first 7 minutes, like the Notorious, that the first 7 minutes tells you the whole story of what's going to happen, foreshadowing everything, is one of the most brilliant things I ever seen in the history of films. And there's so much to it that every time that you keep watching, you keep diving in. Oh, I didn't notice that. I didn't notice this, and it's incredibly brilliant. So that is my connection with The Exorcist and how I fell in love with it.
It is such an interesting movie, and I'm glad you brought up the beginning, because the way it starts, like sometimes you forget that, yeah, we spend this whole opening act with Father Marin in Iraq on this dig.
You totally forget that.
There's not much dialogue. It's very minimal as far as like what he's doing. You just get just creepy tones and images, and the wind that's blowing. The demon Pazuzu, I know, is associated with wind, so it really makes sense. But like that little statue head that he finds in that hole, that's just creepy, right? And then
the whole hole.
Yeah, and the whole
the hole is the hole is literally a dog in a way that is a cross.
Yeah.
Right, and then the head gets found under the cross. So there's so many, like the whole team, like film out, like the whole, like our team, like how they thought about that. It's kind of like what every time they're gonna make a movie right now, they think, how can I make that Exorcist thing? So like even at the bed, like when he ends at the window of her apartment, and there's light. Right? Because like Jesus is light, and then lights are off and the devil arrives, so it's like just when that ends, like everything, and then there's pretty much that window is there to serve that purpose. I think when we go into the bedroom, everything's like the window is the fourth wall. So the window is there for two purposes, like for that opening and for Karis to die.
Yeah. Quite the death window, with Burke getting tossed out of it, and then and Father Karras as well. It's also really interesting that it's called The Exorcist, and again, we meet Father Marin at the beginning, and then he's gone for like the bulk of the movie.
Yeah.
It takes a long time. Like, that's what I find so fascinating, is the journey. I mean, this is a journey film of poor Chris, this actress, trying to figure out what the heck is wrong with my daughter. Like, that's the bulk of the movie. She doesn't even bring Father Karras in until well over an hour into the movie, right? And then we have the final last half hour where Father Marin finally pops back up. It's such an interesting structure, and it always strikes me. I'm like, this is not done like a horror movie. And that's what's so fascinating about it.
I think that's it's one of the scariest, like my kid, I have a 80-year-old and a soon-to-be 6-year-old daughter and an 8-year-old boy that they love horror movies.
Okay.
In a way that they wanted to watch. Well, we go to every Spirit Halloween and they know everything, but they never watch a single horror movie.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just introduced them to Monster Squad. So let's start slowly.
Okay. Easier.
Good start.
Horror comedy, yeah.
Yeah. But he keeps asking me, what's your, like, the scary movie do you ever watch? It was Exorcist. And he keeps asking what it is about. And I was like, it's kind of like what they used to call is a religious drama. So like, you don't see a horror or like the fear, the anticipation of the fear that you're about to have. It's way bigger than the horror itself. I think that's why it's so brilliant that like a few movies, they've done that so well. Like there's no jump scare. There's no, it's just like the fear that is being implemented. And it's kind of like a James Wan does so well. So like there's a few movies that he does, it has jump scare, but like some of the movies, they are so, like a Conjuring, there's a scene that there's a closet and then you just tilt up and she's on top of the closet, like any other filmmaker would do. Like you do like a sound cue. No, it's just like, oh my God, that's terrifying. And Exorcist has that of you just imagine that little girl, and then if the movie was not like, if we talk about watching that out of the blue without knowing what it is, it would have the same experience as the family.
Yeah, right.
So you would say, like, is she sick? Is she not sick? It's what it is. And I've watched, like, I'm a freak with this things too. So I watch a lot of documentaries about the first exorcism documented by the Vatican and that kind of stuff. And it's the same process. No one knows what it is. It's sick. And two, they start like talking different language or this. And then it's like, oh, there's something else here.
Yeah, something else going on.
And then I think the movie, there's few elements of the movie that is so, the stairwell, the choice of the stairwell, like some of the scenes that you see both priests facing each other, but in different panels. There's so many elements that it's so, there's always that thing back in my mind when I read a movie, read something, what can I bring that is something brilliant like The Exorcist? That is, it has those elements, and that's the forced perspective or the framing and like the window that you see through, and then you read the distance of the character. So it's so well done in that sense of visual storytelling that I couldn't think about a movie to to talk with you guys. It's like, it has to be The Exorcist.
I think it is one of those.
Yeah.
I look at this movie. I watch it, like just watching the movie, thinking about you watching the movie, and I wonder at what point you are able to turn off the I'm an audience member and I'm just letting myself be rocked by the story, and transition to how the hell are they doing that so effectively? Like from the gimbal, the bed, like all of those things that allow you to be inspired by movies like this, that put this on your like mastercraft list of aspirational movies.
I think that's why Exorcist is so important to me, because of the first, like, let's call it 3-4 times that I watch it, I watch as an audience member. I watch like being, first of all, like I had to defeat that trauma. So I had to watch the movie.
Yes.
Yeah, right. That was first.
Congratulations, by the way. We're all really proud of you. You're doing great work.
Thank you so much. Like it's my 25th anniversary.
Yeah.
And then after that, to start diving into the story, it took a while since, no, of course, the first time that I watched until I actually found myself as a filmmaker, and then watching and thinking about the gags. But the funny thing is, I just watched with my family Wicked for Good again at home. And I'm a sucker for like Nathan Crowley and like everyone that like in that project. But the amount of times that I look at my wife watching the movie and then she's in film too, and then we all like, oh my God, the set.
Oh boy, when Grande comes down those stairs, that entire musical number blows my mind.
But, like if she were like, we spent a whole night like Googling, and then I was trying to explain to her, it's like, it's a green screen and pull out, and then there's and then she was like, I have to read this. So Exorcist never took me away, even knowing like the fridge, the gag, the room, like how they put the room into the fridge, the gags, the gimbals, and all the practical rigs and everything else never took me away because of how it's crafted. I'm not saying that Wicked is not crafted that way, but Wicked is made to impress. You have to be transported into that world. The Exorcist, you live in that world. You know how a house looks like.
I've walked stairs before.
I walked the stairs before.
Yeah.
I know when my house is cold and I turn on the thermostat, it's not cold anymore. I don't have cold breath inside my house. So those elements, it kind of brings you into the movie than actually take you out.
Yeah.
But I always, when I rewatch it, was like, oh my God, I forgot about that gag. How did they do it? And then try to read and find out how those gags were done. And then we just did like something similar on Scrubs. We talk about the rigging. We talk about the traveling without moving with the Turk and was like, how are we going to do that? And then I sent a video of Jamiroquai and was like, it's the wall that moves. we cannot do that because we have a hospital. So, and then the camera team, the rigging team, that built this amazing contraption that it was like an inch from the floor. So we wouldn't have JD and Turk too tall. So it's kind of like those practical elements that you have to go back to those old movies to solve something that you're doing here in the technology days of AI days. And it's like, how can we make that effective? We could totally shoot that in a green screen.
Glad you didn't, and that we got a Jamiroquai reference on this show. That's astounding.
I know, and then we had
That's a great video, man.
And you know what's funny though? I don't know if you're gonna ask me to cut this, but we had Carla burning, like on fire. Sorry to cut out The Exorcist a little bit, but like
No, you're fine.
we have Carla on fire.
Mm-hmm.
And when I read in the script, I look at them and say, are we doing this practical? And after fires before, it's like, yes, we're doing practical. It's like, okay, great. So we plan everything.
But Carla, she's so sweet.
I was like, okay, fun. I get it. And then the next script, it came with the gag that with the janitor and everything, like there was a pipe, the pipe would explode and then they flood the hospital in this gag with the JD, and JD gets dragged by the water to meet Charlie. That was the original idea. And then I sat down with the producer, with Randall, was like, remember the fire gag? How complicated that was. Yeah, multiply that by 1,000. That's a water gag. So you're aware that's going to be really hard. But every time, it's like I mentioned, the black and white, I didn't want to shoot with how it was today and just transform a real set into black and white. I wanted to do something more. And then I had to go back to see how they did it. And then Exorcist is one of those movies that I had to go back and see how did they do that? How did the staircase, how the house was decided to have that rig that she climbs and then you see her. So like those are the things that a movie like that with like not a huge amount of resources that we have these days, and not only financial resources, but like gear and tools, and that's how you have to go back and drink from that fountain and say, hey, we can do something really effective here. That it touched the audience in a way that I don't think AI would ever do. I don't want to go and watch a movie with a fake Tom Hanks and a fake Tom Cruise and a fake Schwarzenegger fighting. I want to see Tom Cruise doing the gags. Quick example that I was having a chat with an architect. When we did the Price is Right gag on Scrubs, that with the Dr. Cox finding the results. I mean, waiting to find the results, and then we have the Price is Right gag. I told my department, I was like, we have to make a model. And we made a model, like a quarter-inch model, a half-inch model. Every single piece was movable. So I had my whole art department, each one holding a little piece to make the same movement as we would do in a camera. And I shoot it with my phone and say, okay, and then the curtains fall, the walls open, everything. And I sent to them. That itself was enough to sell the idea because of the craft behind. I think if I had said that as a video on a SketchUp or whatever, I would probably get a note back from them, said, hey, can you move this here? Can you turn this out of color or do whatever? But because there was so much craft behind that, it got respected by what we did and by what we accomplished. So I think that's why when you see like Wicked, so like with the huge models, Planet of the Apes and whatever, there's a level of pre-camera craft that it gets respected by, yes, you put some thought in this. And then I think the computer, there's so many amazing artists that do that so well. It still have a little bit of a, hey, since we did this here, can we make this room bigger? Can we make this? And then it kind of, the craft puts more like in the practical aspect that say, hey, I respect what you did. I don't want to touch it. But when we do this, here we make that bigger and whatever. But this is so cool. So I think like that's why that movie is so untouched, like in that way, because everything was done so well. There's nothing that we would change today. And there's nothing they would replicate in a different way that it was not how it was done there.
Yeah, and I think that's something that you definitely get with William Friedkin, right, as a director, who seems to just revel in the idea of like, well, I don't want to make it sound terrible, but like putting his actors through it. Like he really seems to want to create an actual physical environment that they can react to, whatever it takes, whatever the production design needs to be to get them there, however the costumes need to be designed, whatever sort of physical effects they're bringing in. Like it seems like that's the sort of thing that he really puts his actors through, and you see that in this film, in The French Connection, in Sorcerer. Like that's something that he really worked to achieve. And I know you hear plenty of stories about how difficult it was for some of the actors. Certainly the case with both Ellen and Linda working on this one, as far as some of the things that they had to go through. But I think also it brings an incredible sense of authenticity and a sense of space. And I think that's the key, is like I feel like all of this is really here and happening.
Absolutely. And then I think one of the aspects that when we talk about a horror, that we talk about the one set horror, like the low budget horror that you have the one sad thing. So like, oh, evil dad shoot in a cabin and whatever. But like if you think about The Exorcist, yes, you have those open fields that it kind of add the element to like the big budget look of Exorcist, with like Iraq and like the cultural aspect, and then you have the churches and everything. But it is there. It's claustrophobic. You in a house. It is almost like the premise, like what would be the epitome of making a good horror movie is right there. It's what happens inside there, and there's nothing more terrifying that you be stuck in a room with the devil.
Yeah. Right.
With a 13-year-old devil. I think that's so well done in that sense that even like he brings that little like the world, but he goes there and then it puts you in that room to suffer and then to live that life. So I think that's the amount of times that, like, again, going back and say like, hey, how can we can add the big budget look? How can we make this? You have like the big location, the beautiful location, whatever, and then you go into with your resources and say like, hey, but this is where the movie takes place.
But the bedroom is what it's all about. Yeah.
But we added the big look. So when they like Nobody or like those movies, when they watch, it's like, how much that movie cost? Not as much as you think, because like we were smart of like using the big locations to kind of use your money wisely on them.
I love it. Did you ever go back, now that you've gotten through your issues with it and seen the film, have you gone through the Exorcist franchise? Like, or is that like, you know what, the first one's all I need?
I know. I like the first one. I like the third one a lot. And then I
third
think
one's great, yeah.
Yes, one of the most scary scenes. Like, of course,
the ceiling. Whew, man.
The nun, like the statue of the Virgin Mary. But I think one of the most underrated movies is The Exorcist: The Beginning.
Is that which version is that one? Is that Rennie Harlin's, or is that the one that who is the other director who came in and remade that one? Because that was the one where there was two versions of it, right?
I think it was with the young. I have to look now. Yes, but there was
it's Skarsgård, right?
Yeah, Skarsgård.
Yeah. So Rennie Harlin directed Exorcist: The Beginning, but it was such an interesting story because Paul Schrader started it, and it was
really?
called Dominion. Yeah, it's actually, they both ended up getting finished. And I definitely, if you enjoy Exorcist the beginning, go check out Paul Schrader's version. I think it's Dominion prequel to The Exorcist.
Prequel to The Exorcist. Yeah.
Okay.
It's the same story, but two different directors taking it in different places and stuff. Is a really interesting experience watching those two things because of the story that went in behind of like it getting like taken away from it. It's crazy. Yeah.
So like there's a wolf scene, like the one that I watched, there's a wolf scene, but so the wolf like eating and then so we have to go and unlock the where the Lucifer fell, and then you have like this statues like pointing down, and then she's like, it was one of the things I would never do. Let's go there midnight to close that gate. It's like, let's wait for 9 a.m.
Yeah, you're right. Is there a reason it has to be at midnight?
Let's call some friends. And then you go into the tunnel and then you see that creature coming. I was like, no. I'll be like, okay, I'll be in bed, lock the doors, and I'll come back at 9 a.m.
Yeah, right.
No reason
Why
for that.
me? Why am I even involved in this stupid event?
Yes, like, is my name in the Bible? What's going on? I'm not doing that. And it's funny too, because I grew up Catholic. My uncle's a priest and everything. I'm not by any means right now religious at all. But I had religious classes in college with one of the guys that actually reading the lost books from the Bible, like those books that they took from the Bible that they placed somewhere.
Okay, yeah.
And it is so many like meanings and iconographies and names that they put in the Bible to represent something that movie there's like with the Lucifer down was one of the things that was right on that time, and I was like, oh, that's why they did it, and that's what it means, like some of the things. But like that movie I think is underrated because there's so many good horror scenes that if it was done, it's one of the like biggest like most controversial things that I could say is Nacho Libre. If Nacho Libre was done in Italy in 1950s and like 60s as a new Italian classic, it would be one of the greatest movies of all time.
Hot take.
Hot take.
Yeah.
That Exorcist, the beginning with those scenes, the wolf, the tunnel, and everything. If it was done by Friedkin, like in the 60s, 70s, it would be a really good movie. I think because it carries the legacy of The Exorcist and everything else. It kind of say, another one of those, which I don't know what's going to happen with Flanagan. But it's just like one of those things that so again, going back, if you get that movie, the same movie, and you made practical, and you made with the cameras and the way, I think that's why when you have a horror movie that is done in the 70s, 80s, that you don't have like hey, get the flashlight here and see who's in the corner there. Like, it loses a little bit. And I think those movies, it gets into the underrated because of that, because it doesn't carry the history and the craft.
I hear you. Well, I mean, it's a fantastic movie. I'm so glad that you brought it to the show to chat about, because it's well worth talking about and always worth revisiting. So
absolutely, yes,
one of the greats.
I have so many shirts, and we should have worn my shirts like today. Like,
you're wearing the wrong shirt.
I know. What are you doing? Repping the Jaws shirt for an Exorcist conversation?
You know what? I have to grab my shirt now.
Okay. We're going to start over.
Yeah, let's start over. I don't know what my shirt is, but I have a really scary shirt.
Excellent.
I cannot hang it, like every time that I'm trying or whatever, I'm gonna put away. I'm gonna wear this shirt today. My kids, it's like, can you put that away?
Oh wow, that bad, huh?
It's Regan's face, so it's kind of like just the Regan's face with the eyes, and then it's quite hot today. I wore the wrong shirt.
It was a Jaws day, though.
Yeah, Jaws day.
Yeah. I'm that guy. I don't go to a rock band, like a rock concert, with the shirt from the band. I have to tell everyone that I
like other bands too, okay?
Your interests are broad. It's okay.
Great.
Oh my gosh. Well, a fantastic conversation. Roger, thank you so much for joining us today.
This is great, dude. Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you, guys. It was so fun.
Psycho Killer, you can rent. It's available digitally. You can watch it now. And Scrubs, of course, the reboot is out as well. Anything coming up that people should be watching of your work, Roger? Any other projects that you can tell us about?
Yeah, there's one project like the 12-year-old Roger got really happy to be part of was the reunion of Matthew Broderick and Alan Ruck in a movie called Best Is Yet to Come. So it's the first time that they did a movie together after 25 years.
Holy cow.
Wow.
So John Turteltaub directing. So I think it's coming out, I would say, at the end of the year. I think it's like in a post phase. But that was a movie that as much as I love horror, as much as I love like everything, it's like Safety Not Guarantee, Palm Springs, like those movies, Peanut Butter Falcon. Like I love those type of movies. That's a movie that I would be known for. And Best Is Yet to Come is one of those really emotional and beautiful movies.
Oh,
and having Matthew Broderick and Alan Ruck reunited, and to see them acting together and chatting with them and talking stories about Ferris Bueller and what we're doing with this movie and John Turteltaub directing. It's a fantastic movie. I can't wait you guys to watch.
Oh my goodness.
That is so fantastic.
Alan Ruck he's a sneaky monkey. I'll tell you what. Just when I think where has Alan Ruck gone? He shows up in Rooster right now. He's fantastic. I look at his IMDb page. He's got 127 credits. I'm the one who is doing a bad job following Alan Ruck. He's so good and so busy.
Very busy, yeah.
So busy.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's a movie that I can't wait, and it's really emotional. It's really beautiful, touching, and it's going to be great.
Excellent. Can people find you out on the socials at all?
Yeah, like it's Roger Fires, Instagram, everywhere. It's like mostly on Instagram and
Instagram. Okay.
Yeah, so just like sharing some behind the scenes. I love like sharing some stories and things. So it's fun to share that.
Following right now.
Well, we'll put that in the show notes. Roger, again, thank you so much.
Thank you.
If you want to keep watching and listening, here are a few places to go from here. Pete and I covered The Exorcist over on The Next Reel as part of our Ellen Burstyn series. And on Sitting in the Dark, the Scream team did a whole episode on demons and possession, with Lester and Keenan of The Exorcist Minute as guests. They covered The Exorcist, but also Hereditary, The Exorcist 3, Poltergeist 2, and more. And while we're on the subject, The Exorcist Minute itself is also part of the True Story FM family, so if you want the full deep dive on the film, go check that out too. Then, if this episode puts you in a production design mode, we've got a few earlier Movies We Like episodes to check out. Kevin Conran on The Adventures of Buckaroo Banzai, Andrew McAlpine on The Power of the Dog, Liz Bischoff on Sonatine, and Yohei Taneda on Ugetsu. Links to all of those in the show notes. Thanks again to Roger Fires for joining us today. For everyone else out there, we hope you enjoyed the show, and certainly hope you like the movie like we do here on Movies We Like. Movies We Like is part of the True Story FM network and part of the Next Reel family of film shows. Our theme is Chonk Clap by Out of Flux. Find us at truestory.fm and follow @The Next Reel on Blue Sky, Instagram, and Letterboxd. You can also watch full episodes on the Next Reel YouTube channel. If you'd like to learn about becoming a member of the Next Reel family of film shows, visit truestory.fm/join. That's truestory.fm/join. And if you're enjoying the show, we'd love your rating and review wherever you tune in. See you next time.